21st century slave trade in Libya. Thousands have returned with tales of woes. All this will be discussed tonight in Political Arena on Platform Media International. Good evening. Perhaps you have heard about the stories of African migrants crossing the Mediterranean to Europe. And as a result, some of them have traveled by road across the Sahara and got stuck in Libya and across North Africa. And lately, some of them have been turned to slaves. And some of them who are lucky to return back to their countries have told stories that are very, very unpalatable to the ears and very not good stories for people who have eyes to see. And tonight, on Political Arena, we are discussing the 21st century slave trade in Africa. And I have in the studio my very good friend, Obi Nzadibi.
Thank you.
Obi, this is a new phenomenon that Africans that are crossing the Mediterranean to seek for prosperity or economic freedom in Europe got stuck in North Africa and perhaps in Libya. And as a result, they returned to slaves. The CNN cable news internet network have shown it that where people have been sold as little as $400. Some of them who were able to escape have told stories of wars, that women were turned to sex slaves and children died in the midst of poverty and hunger. Obi, this is sad, correct?
It is very distressing. The pictures we have seen on the internet are disgusting. You know, it should never have happened in any part of the world. But the reality is that it has happened and it is continuing to happen. And we must talk about how to stop it.
Now, when I saw that, what I was looking for is whether the leaders of these countries, because I saw that some of these countries, some of these citizens are spread around sub-Saharan Africa, from Cameroon, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, even from Congo, they're all involved. I was looking for adequate response from the government of this country. I haven't seen that, apart from the fact that NGOs have flown some form of these citizens to their countries. A former footballer in Cameroon, Samuel Eto'o, had a charter flight to fly Cameroonians back home. Some Nigerians have been lucky that perhaps the government have flown them back to Nigeria. But what is the government response adequate in the midst of this crisis?
The government response has been poor. They will say that they have not been able to deal with their domestic problems, not to talk about problems that are outside of their country. These are governments that are not alive to their responsibilities. You know, people get into governments in most African countries without understanding the obligations they should have to their citizens. So
this will be, first of all of us who did some political science in the school, the first duty of a government is the protection of its citizens. And the part of that protection is what these citizens expected from their government. When they are in distress like this, they want adequate response from government to at least salvage them or retrieve them from this imminent death and suffering. But I have not seen neither the international community, perhaps African Union. I have not seen that African Union have taken a stand to say, okay, the people are perpetrating this, they have to face the music. I have not seen that. Or the regional body we are talking about, ECOWAS or ASABC, they have not responded at all. Or individually as a government, none.
Well, the issue about slavery in Libya is multifaceted. In the first instance, in terms of rescuing the slaves, Nigeria does have the financial muscle to bring back to Nigeria every person who is in slavery in Libya, and then arrange for them to go back to their country and probably charge back those countries for the funds they had expended in or why are we the leader of the Black World if we can't do that? How much will it cost to hire 10 aeroplanes to go to Libya and bring them back to Nigeria in the first instance before they start going back to their countries?
I've listened to some comments, and perhaps maybe government is buying that. The comment is that who sent them in the first place? Is that human to say who sent them?
Well, a government that doesn't know their obligation to their citizens will say that. The fact is that people were hungry. They have no jobs. They have no means of surviving in their country. And they had to seek alternatives. They had to seek for ways to survive. And that led them into going towards Libya en route to Europe.
Now, this thing has been going on for years. I do go to Nigeria back home and I ask questions about this. And some people say death is better than dishonor. For me to die hungry in my country, let me give it a try. And that's why people decide to take the long routes, not even flying. They're driving through the Sahara Desert for many days without water. Now, do you think this slave trade thing will put a stop to this migration?
It will temporarily hurt it, but the underlying fact is that people have been migrating to Europe through the Sahara Desert for thousands of years. It has been happening.
From Sundiata era, Mansamata era.
The problem we have currently was caused by the United States of America and Canada and their NATO allies. Without forcing Muammar Gaddafi to leave office, without bombing Libya back to the Stone Age, without destroying the economy of Libya, there was no incidence of slavery prior to the Muammar Gaddafi or during the Muammar Gaddafi era. There was a legitimate government in place, and now that government has been removed, there is no central power in Libya. And so we have
lawlessness,
and that lawlessness is what has led to this slave trade. Now, NATO did intervene in Iraq. They did in Afghanistan. But after those two countries, there was an international donor conference that was held to raise money to rebuild Iraq and Afghanistan. Why did that not happen in the case of Libya? Why would a country like Canada, whose prime minister, Stephen Harper, spearheaded the destruction of Libya because of his personal hatred for Muammar Gaddafi, remain silent when this slave trade is taking place? And so it is much more than the slave trade. The black man needs to understand, his worth, the way he is viewed by the rest of the world, and that should offer him moments of sober reflections. We are regarded as worthless.
This brings us to the issue, right? Look at let's take back to history. Nkrumah was very, very patriotic. He demanded for African Union, but that was single currency. The sense was central government for Africans. He was overthrown, and thereafter, pockets of leadership in Ghana sprung up, and until Rawlings came and swept off all the about 5 head of state and they died. Ghana was in turmoil after Nkrumah. In Congo Democratic Republic, we find that some of the young leaders that were springing up then were eliminated, and that led to the emergence of Bokassa. Is it Bokassa? Mobutu Sese Seko. And now, the same thing to Libya. Muammar Gaddafi was killed, and instead of what you just said now, trying to build Libya, the Libyans have been abandoned, and you find different leadership in Libya, and the place has been turned to a theater of war. And that's why this slave trade, because people need to survive.
Oh, yeah, yes. So to stop
so has the West lived up to their responsibility?
They have not, but there is a responsibility on them. The United Nations, working with the International Office for Migrations, need to come together to understand that what is happening in Libya is now that there is no defined border. Okay. Dangerous arms go out from Libya. They ended up in Nigeria. They funded Boko Haram. They caused problems for Nigeria, they cause problems for Chad and Cameroon, and they will cause much more problems for other people. Migration of slaves is also creating problems in Libya, and so many other evil things would happen out of Libya. Until the government of Libya is stabilized, these things will continue to happen.
You mentioned migration just now. In the 15th century, Africans were on their own when there was migration from Europe, and that led to the struggle and partition of Africa. Yes. There wasn't an issue, and they called themselves explorers, correct?
Yes.
And they told us they discovered Africa. There was no issue. And the migration you're talking about, there was migration from Europe to North America. There was no issue with that. And now it is this turn from Africans to now migrate to Europe. It is an issue. What is it that is migration? Does it have an objective definition from your historical perspective?
It doesn't, but the fact is that people who are already living in any country frown at the entrance of newer people, but individuals who are distressed in their own part of the world must find a way.
Solace.
You cannot stop it. You can only manage it, but it cannot be stopped. There will continuously be migration from Africa to different parts of the world. But we are encouraging Africans to equip themselves, to learn a trade, to have money, and do it in a proper manner, and not using crude methods like trying to swim across the Mediterranean. Yes.
So even the wall that they are building down south in United States of America can't stop migration?
Oh, no, it will not. It will not, because American girls will go to Mexico and get married, and they have to come back.
That's another perspective.
Yeah, they will fly to Mexico and get married, and there is no law that will stop a married woman bringing in her
husband.
Yes.
Immigration does not stop families.
Yes, it's a waste of time.
Mr. V, thank you very much. That's it may be funny, but you just said the right thing.
Yes.
That's part of migration.
Yes.
You marry a husband in Mexico, marry somebody in Africa, there's no reason why you cannot bring them back to the
they will have to, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, we have nailed it. That's why we cannot stop thanking you to come into the studio.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's the latest day slavery in North Africa, where sub-Saharan citizens seeking economic freedom and political emancipation are migrating to the Mediterranean, but some of them got stuck in Libya, and the Libyans who have no government have turned them to slaves. And our discussion here, whether we have had any adequate response from government or whether migration can stop. It is the view of my guest Obinzadibe that migration cannot stop, and I agree with him. And that is on political arena. I'm yours sincerely, Joe Ehizde. Say have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.